Oh yeah, PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. Okay, so hello everyone. So my name is Wei Min. So we're going to talk about a very introductory session about building mixed reality apps. Okay. So first question of the day, and my slides got mixed up. Okay, when I restarted, I didn't save the previous one. Now before we begin, if anyone of you asks, what's mixed reality? Yeah, I asked myself the same question and I went to research around. Mixed reality is basically everything. Okay? Don't you laugh, you go back and search yourself, okay? Basically, mixed reality means there's a spectrum. If it goes fully digital, you get virtual reality. If you go fully physical, you get the real world. Okay, so that's why they call it mixed reality, because you get a spectrum of everything. You have your virtual reality. Well, we don't have full sensory sword art online style virtual reality yet. So you get your Oculus and everything, and you get your augmented reality, where right now we're just throwing Pokeballs on a camera screen. That's not really augmented reality, but yeah, some people are having better use for it already. But in any case, we are in this time of technology where we are starting to use all this, where we are able to create technology like this. Now I see a lot of you are young here. Does anyone know what the movie Minority Report is? Okay, so you remember like there are many movies where you see there's a holographic projection and the guy is like just swiping the hands around. Was it? Anyway, you know, like in Avengers where Tony Stark is like moving all the screens around, right? Okay? That's mixed reality. Okay? And we can, okay? So we can have that mixed reality now. I mean, I can show you all these examples here. And hey, did we show them? Do you show them the video during the keynote? Or the mixed reality HoloLens thing one? Not right? Okay. So we can have that Tony Stark one if we could buy a HoloLens, which we can't. Okay. But that's basically what HoloLens is capable of. HoloLens is pretty much what we call, it's an interpolated reality. It's basically a projection onto the lens here, and then you can more or less interact and play stuff on a physical place. Okay? So this is too expensive. This is very rare. We are most likely going to get a version 2 next year or something. Okay? So don't forget about that. Now, let's talk about these mixed reality. So, the HoloLens was great because, does everyone know what an Oculus Rift or HTC Vive is? Those VR cameras. Now, for those VR to work, you need 2 cameras or lighthouses to detect the position of the headset and the controllers. So, with the HoloLens, it's able to detect using the camera on the HoloLens itself. So what Microsoft did was, Microsoft gave the OEMs the technology of that sensing so that they can go make all these mixed reality headsets. So essentially, in order to set up a VR environment using a Windows mixed reality headset, all you need is the headset. And I can move around to set it up. If this was a demo for Oculus Rift or Vive, I would need to spend 10 minutes just to set up the room. Okay? So this is a very big plus of the mixed reality headset. The other thing is that the screens are actually much better than the entry-level Vive and Oculus Rift. Okay? Of course, the bad thing here is, look at all these nice OEMs here. None of them sell in Malaysia, so. Okay? This one, I had a very interesting journey with Lazada, and I got it from this shop that disappeared after I ordered it. But I actually managed to get it. It delivered from Pahang, so it's like, okay, it actually got here. So, in any case, So now we got this, and wait again. This is I'm supposed to show you this video. Okay. All right, everyone see this video? What's wrong with my audio? Oh, is it mute? Okay, stop. Okay. So this is just to see how easy it is to set up and use. Okay. So that's what the inside-out tracking is, what they call the cameras mounted on the headset. Okay, it makes it much more easier to set up. If people will complain, it's not as accurate as Oculus or Vive. Yeah, but there's less wires to trip over. So okay. So this is just a demo. But you see, you haven't seen all this before. I'm sure since you guys have played games, everyone knows Steam, right? Yeah. So you know there's Steam VR, which is running wide, right? Okay? The one thing that Microsoft did is that this headset is now Steam VR compatible. So any title that runs on Steam VR, you can use this. For example, I'm sure you guys have seen this game show up. And it's not supposed to go there. Okay. Okay? Okay, so you guys must have seen this appear on your Facebook feed before, right? Okay? So this is a Beat Saber, this is a Steam game, and I'm playing it using this Windows Mixed Reality headset. Okay, the thing is fully compatible because it's basically built on the same OpenVR standards. Okay? Now, let's get back. Okay, let's talk about how we're going to build the mixed reality apps, okay? So first thing the main thing to know here is we're going to build using Unity. Everyone who doesn't know what Unity is? Okay, so if you don't know, Unity is basically one of the best 3D game engines. Okay, you can use it to make pretty much on every platform. Okay, and it's an added plus that if you know C#, it runs C#, it has full debugger capability that communicates with Visual Studio. Okay, so if you know C#, you know Visual Studio, you can develop your own games. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this Mixed Reality Toolkit, that is the community library, which is going to help us develop games, apps, or whatever, much more easier with the mixed reality. So first of all, the main thing is that even if you don't have the hardware, you can use some software emulator tools. But yeah, the mixed reality portal is a pain to use without the headset. I'll show, if we have time, I can show you later. Okay, and there's this. If you want to, you can try and get Nominator to get a free headset. Okay. Okay, let's do a quick talk about some mixed reality terms. There is the gaze, so that you know what you're looking at. There is the gesture, so that you know what you are doing. Voice commands, controllers. Spatial mapping is the understanding of whether or not what's around you. Spatial sound is where the sound is coming from, and world coordinates is basically just where you are in the world. We're not going to touch all this because this is for the HoloLens. Okay, so that we don't have spatial mapping. I thought this was going to be spatial mapping, but it wasn't. Yeah. Okay, first we need to understand that there are two types of spaces: stationary and room scale. That's actually just for this thing. So stationary is when you're sitting down and maybe you're playing a flight simulator or something. You don't need to move around that much. You're just turning your head. And room scale is where you set up a whole room and you can move around in a limited space. There is actually one more, if you're using a HoloLens, there's one more scale which they call world scale, which is basically you can just keep walking around and the headset will be smart enough to track where you are and everything. Okay, so this is just an information slide. For a 3D, you just need to know and position everything correctly and relative to everything else on the scene. And okay, let's talk about Unity. So here we have the basic Unity screen. The first thing that we should do is that we should go to the build settings and we make sure we are selecting for the Universal Windows platform. And we just need to make sure that we have checked our virtual reality support. Okay, so that's all done. And so here is our work area. This is our main scene. This is our scene hierarchy, which is like what items are inside the scene. And here we are inspectors, which is basically the properties of the components that you put in the scene. And here is all your actual source objects. Okay, so because this is an intro section and not teaching you modeling 101, I am going to drag a prefab of the room into the scene. Okay, so here now we have a scene already. So this is the room itself. Okay, so just take a look at it. This is a nice little apartment. Okay, so now if I try to run it, it's still not really configured to use the mixed reality stuff. First I'm going to delete off the default camera, the player camera, and I'm going to replace it with the one from the mixed reality toolkit, which I'm going to put in the So I'm going to put in the new mixed reality camera. This is from the toolkit. And if we look at the camera here, basically they note that they have two things that say, you call it opaque display and transparent display. So opaque display is, opaque means cannot be seen through. So opaque display is your normal headsets and transparent display is for your HoloLens headsets. So that's what we have now. And we're going to set a boundary. Now, by default, this is room scale. And because I haven't set up the room, we're going to do it stationary. And I can actually initiate this now. So the problem is, whenever I flip it down, the desktop minimizes. So this is going to get a bit. This gets a bit annoying. When I was doing this during the practice, I'm like, that's annoying. Okay, so I'm going to run. So very easily, we have already have a movable camera, by 3D and everything. Don't worry, I can see from the bottom here. So I will generally not trip on anything, hopefully. Okay? So note here there is a stand with a light here, and we have another interesting object here on the. Okay, I will bump into the wall. Okay, so see that drone there, right? Okay, just pay attention to those two things. But first of all, right now, basically this just handles the player motion and nothing else. So basically, we're just moving around. And if we remember what I mentioned just now, the first thing we can do is about gaze. So you want to be able to, the user must be able to see, you must be able to tell the user what you're focusing on. So first of all, we're going to use another component called the input manager. And we're going to drag in the cursor. And actually, sorry, I missed out a step just now. there's a boundary here, which I am actually supposed to tell it where the floor is. Interestingly, I thought I would just fall straight through if I didn't put this, but I didn't. Okay, so there's no bug here. Okay, so now I put the input manager and the cursor already. Now, basically what the predefined script here is that in Unity, you can set a few things as physical objects with the collision meshes. So right now, anything that has a collision mesh on it, it will be able to detect that I'm looking at it and it will show a cursor. And here we go again. Annoying, right? Okay, so now you see the cursor there, right? So notice that there will be a cursor appears on the floor, on the cabinet, because they're physical, but it doesn't collide with the sofa because it's not physical. And okay, so basically that's it. It's so very easily you can tell the user, okay, this is what you're looking at, and after that you can maybe do some other code with that. Maybe if they linger, one usual way that people will code or gaze is that if you linger on something, you keep staring at something, maybe a tooltip will pop out or something. Okay, then we have that. The other thing that now we can, so next we have a gesture. So here we have the controller. So this is for the left hand. Notice how they have, see the lights? The lights is what helps the cameras track the position. Okay? And if we look here in the camera, we will be able to see that there's a controller model here, which by default it will use the controller model for the mixed reality controllers. Let's do some interaction. Okay, now we have a light here, and we have inside the light we have a lamp light itself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the script as a click script. So I'm going to say when the lamp is clicked. So when I dragged in the lamp, it added the script here as an additional component. Now, if you're wondering, the script basically looks like this. So it's just C#. It's just normal C#. So it's going to say like on click, what do you want to do? I want to toggle this light. And then another thing that we will do is that we have I'm not used to moving this thing using my trackpad. Okay. Alright. Overshot. Okay. So here we have this drone platform. So I'm going to just add this little script there. It's we're going to get the drone to fly over to the target. So we're going to drag the drone into the script that says what object to fly. Okay. So now, let's see now. So the few things I did was, I just added two scripts to interact with the object, but let's see what else did the Mixed Reality Toolkit give free for me for my interaction. Okay, so the rendering of the model came free by just dragging the input manager in. The other thing, if you are used to programming stuff like this, is that notice if I press the trigger, the 3D model moves with it. Now this is a trackpad, okay? This is a trackpad. If I move my finger around the trackpad, the current area will be highlighted. And if I move the joystick, same thing. So that's what you need to do when you're making a virtual reality app. Because the user can't see outside of the real world. So if you make them hold something, you need a good analog to tell them what they're doing. Okay? So the thing that came free with the toolkit is, of course, rendering this and showing all the position. And of course, now I can move already. Okay? So if you've done enough VR gaming, you know that people like to do teleporting. So by default, it's just teleporting. I personally, I don't like teleporting. I'm more of a real-time walk-around person. But I heard that teleporting makes people with motion sickness feel less queasy. So okay, good for you. Same reason why it fades in and out when I'm turning. Okay. So right now, basically, anything that's a collision mesh, I can teleport to. So if I wanted to, I can just teleport onto the table. Okay. I can't get off the table. Okay. Okay. So notice now also the cursor is not following my gaze anymore. The cursor is now being tracked by the controller. Because when you have a controller, you obviously prefer the controller to be tracked. And just now we added a script to activate the light, so we can activate it. Okay? So it's very easy. And if you have experience coding with Riff or Y, the fact is that when you use the toolkit, the mixed reality toolkit, there are certain things that they give easier for you to access the other attributes of the controller. And of course, I can click on this, and the sound isn't working. So the drone is going to fly over. So that was the script that we set by clicking on it to fly around. Okay. So that was mixed reality 101. Okay. So the main thing is that if you are, how many of you have actually done Unity coding? With VR? Okay, yeah, it's not yet. Okay, so the main thing here is that it's pretty simple. If you know Unity, everything is just add on to your existing knowledge. Okay, so let me just go through some of the slides and see what else do I have to deal with. Because I want to show something else. Okay, so gaze, controllers, inputs. Okay, now, so in the US, where they can actually get a HoloLens, they are using it in many different areas for manufacturing and stuff. Because one of the cool things with when you have a technology like this and is widespread is that you can use it in place of a lot of physical things, like maybe 3D modeling or something. Okay, now. For those of you who are questioning, like, yeah, big deal. How many people have this headset? How many people, VR hardware, no matter how much cheaper it is still a price point. So, let me tell you about the more general purpose 3D that you can get. Now, this is what we call Babylon JS. Do I have time? I guess I have time. Okay. Okay, I have one of that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, I can also show you the emulator. I'm going to, let me just turn off this. I need to disconnect. Just give me a second. I didn't actually rehearse this part, so if anything blows up. Okay, so now you notice that this little thing popped up just now when I connected the headset. This is actually what drives the headset before I'm playing anything. The reason you couldn't see anything on the screen just now was because I only have a 1050 in this notebook. If you had, I think, a 1070 or better, you can get to see the mirror, but I don't, so I'm going to turn on the emulator now. Okay. Just give it a while to come up. Okay, so basically this is what I was seeing just now before. If nothing is running, you are in this staging area they call the loft. Okay? It's basically just an area for you to move around. If you've seen any of the other Microsoft demos of HoloLens and mixed reality, you notice that you can place apps around and everything. Okay? Don't ask why that thing's floating. Okay? It's just there. And okay. So basically when you're in the loft, you can for any 2D UWP app, you can pin it on the wall. So I got Edge because I need to test it. You can even see your desktop, so you can try to type stuff through your desktop so that you can work in a different environment. Okay. But the main thing that I want to show you is this thing. I have a browser here. Just hang on a second while my controller wasn't working very well. I guess I'm going to try and use the mouse, or in any case. It is. Okay, so this is Edge. Now, what I'm going to show you today is called Babylon.js. It's basically a web 3D engine. And hang on, I need to remember what is the scroll button of the emulator. Which is why I say the emulator is nice, but see now I'm moving the controller forward and back, I'm not scrolling. I need to grab the page. Just, I'll get to it. I'm pretty sure that's up, that's down. Come on. Okay, never mind. I should have just bookmarked it. Okay, let's try this another way. Okay, so we're going to go out here. Like I said, the emulator works, you just don't want to work with it. Okay, now, how good is this web engine? Okay, so this is a purely, if you're familiar with the term, this is a scene manager 3D system. And it has collisions and everything. And the audio is actually positional. Okay. And the cool thing about this is, I think I can still press this button. Let's go back to the portal. Okay. So, what just happened? When you have a headset like that, anytime you trigger something that tells that the system says, yeah, go into VR mode, it will launch up the mixed reality portal, and now, so if you have a headset, you could actually, this will now be in VR already. So the idea here is, let's say you don't have, if you say, okay, I don't have a headset, my target audience isn't too wide, if I just use the headset. Okay, fine. The web is a very wide audience. So what you can do is, if you want to explore 3D and everything, you can use this engine. Use this Babylon.js engine, because the code to change it into a VR capable system is basically just one line. That's what they say in the docs. Okay? But don't let me be the one that tell you how good this is. Let Microsoft also tell you how good this is. Because this was a surprise. Because I just found out about this. Okay? This is SharePoint. I don't know what your SharePoint is. This Spaces?
Introducing SharePoint Spaces, letting anyone create mixed
It's something that they just
where
introduced.
data, documents, and files.
So basically, you can see your 3D representation of your data. Because the idea here is that if you're immersed in the data, you will learn easier. So with the 3D interaction and the 3D display, it allows you to use your data better. And of course, this whole section is powered by Babylon.js. So don't think your 3D is just a technology for games and everything. You should think of it as it's just another platform for me to show data, to manipulate stuff and do things with it. Okay? So you shouldn't just think of it as YouTube histories. Not YouTube suggestions are not very safe. Okay. Okay. So okay, that's basically